I mentioned that I run cc&d magazine. I do two literary magazines. The one was started in '93.
So what's the other one?
The other one used to be a supplement section within it that was called Down in the Dirt. And that's just such a fun sounding name that it started off as its own magazine probably within the last 15 years, and everybody loves that name so much. They go, oh, you're down in the dirt. They do. It just sounds, I got a lot of submissions from people from college. I want to be down in the dirt. But the one from Down in the Dirt for volume 154, the February issue, is called Renegade Winter. And I look at this image and I think, oh no, there's this dirt spot on it. I want to be able to, and like, no, that was what was in the ice that happened. It was just amazing. And you have to actually pick out, like, what is the coolest thing that you want to be able to put on the covers. I was just going to read a couple from these and then possibly read from collection books, because I do that as well, so I might as well start with...
Read to us.
I shall read to you like a haiku. Like Battles and struggles. Your worst enemy through life is always yourself.
Yeah.
Exactly. He even knew it as it was coming. It's
True.
always yourself. I've got two little short ones. I'll start with the sad one and go with the funny one. This one's called Happy Ending to Everything. Every time I look at my hands when I go out now, I look at the rings on my middle fingers, and they're there to remind me of your jewelry you gave to me when you found out you were going to die. It's not as though I need reminders of what's happening to my mother, but now someone compliments me on the huge blue topaz stone on my center ring, and I smile, and I say thank you, and say, my mother gave this to me, and not explain why. I don't bother with the details, because you want everyone to think that there's a happy ending to everything, as well as there should be.
Should be, yeah. Should be.
Which I'm not wearing the blue topaz one, but I kept looking at this because this was one of the costume ones that she
You're
had.
blinging for sure.
This is one of her costume rings. I'm not giving you the finger. I'm showing costume ring on the middle finger. That was what, so I'm like, I'm wearing that one, but I have her blue topaz on it.
Yeah.
But for a humorous one at the end of the book, this one's called A Crack in the Glass. How many times would we sit like this, have a meal, have a drink, not understand the language of the people around us and not mind, and we would sit and eat our food and drink our drink, and everything would be just fine. And every time our friend would come with us, and every time we were here for food and drink, there was always a nick in the glass. Not mine, yours. And there would always be a crack in the side of your glass. And it was never a bad thing in the glass. It wouldn't cut us, it wouldn't hurt us. But it wouldn't like leak any drink on the table or into your chin. But our friend would always tell us that he could sue.
What?
Could sue for a crack in the glass. And you know, we never thought of suing, and we were never injured, and it wasn't an expensive place to eat anyway. And it always just seemed to happen that whenever we went out with this one friend, whenever they came along, there was this irony that there was always a crack in the glass. Every single time. And he was a lawyer, and he's like, you know, you could sue.
Yeah. Boy named Sue.
Of course, darling. Of course, darling. Because that's how we roll.
No, we don't.
That's how we roll with the suing. When I have 4 issues of a magazine, cc&d, I happen to have a collection book of the September through December issues of cc&d magazine, and this is a collection book called Language of Untamed Spirit.
Beautiful, beautiful title.
You like that cover? Yes.
I like the cover and the title.
From some, it seemed to match with it was just some restaurant in India. And I'm like, I'm photographing these lights. People think I'm crazy because I do these weird things.
You're not.
I can photograph the back of the car, which is why I have a collection book on a rainy day. And this is where these things come from. So I'm going to read a piece or two from this. There was something that was done in the performance show, art show in the past in this. And National Poetry Month, I believe, last year, the show was a bunch of erasure poems where you took another person's speech, type, essay, whatever, and you erase parts of it and you create something else. And so this is kind of ironic. This is a erasure poem, The Meaning of Art. I'll look at the tiny print. It says, these are selected words from excerpts of a key Adolf Hitler speech
True.
on art in Nuremberg, September 6, 1938. We'll see how this goes.
Neato.
We'll see how this goes. The endowment of the true artist is that his work of art expresses the greatest general will of a period. Works of art rightfully mirror the inner mind of age, of life. At present, expression of the world with race will turn to ages which have always possessed freedom of the spirit, of the will, and of the mind. This naturally will manifest itself, is have a manifestation in art, and it should be influenced in 1,000 ways through the evidences and memories of that which will, as an ideal force, live on and work on in the imagination. The more modern art approaches this, more and more will civilization be influenced. Art is, in its purpose, no mystic cult, only the care of a people. We have no religious retreats, but arenas, and our assemblies are not the mystical gloom of a cathedral, but brightness and light. Mystically minded steel. Art, works of culture, positive facts speak louder than any. We can speak of a new awakening of our cultural life, which finds its confirmation not in the mutual compliments of literary phrases, but in positive evidences of cultural creative force. Architecture, sculpture, painting, drama, and the rest bring proof to a creative period in art which, for richness and impetuosity, has rarely been matched in the course of a human history. Try to turn these facts upside down, we know that cultural achievements will have won respect and achievement far more than the material. This is Adolf Hitler. Have no doubt that creative work, since it is the most sensitive expression of a talent, cannot be understood, far less appreciated by individuals who are not the same. Make art. It is a proclamation of body and spirit. It does not make propaganda for the individual work, for the subject, or for the artist. It makes propaganda for the world, which confronts it. And so art will announce and herald that common mental attitude, that common view of life, because these can meet with an understanding only if it reveals itself the true essence of the spirit. The mystic narrowness of gloom of the cathedrals began to recede, and to match the free life of the spirit, buildings became spacious and flooded with light. Mystical twilight gave way before increasing brightness.
Colby, we have you ready at the bike counter.
There you go.
Freedom, and for the last paragraph, freedom of the soul and of the will for centuries opened the way to new forms of expression and artistic creation.
Wow.
The Russian style film of the 1936 Munich Olympics was called Triumph of the Will.
Yes, which I, of course, and he wanted to be an artist.
Yes,
He wanted to be
did,
an artist.
yes.
He was a
Artist
house painter.
wannabe.
Yeah.
And then he became a vegetarian.
Yeah, he did.
So I have so much in common with him.
I know.
I'm a
Me
vegetarian.
too.
one
Sorry.
ball.
That was really good.
Had one ball.
Homeless artist, yes.
So I could read something from this one. I've got a humorous piece, but they're both longer. But this is funny, even though it's not at Christmas time. I'm going to share this one.
Share away.
This one is called, Dilemmas in Gift Giving. After a childhood of Christmases in the Chicago cold and snow, my construction company father started his retirement community in southwest Naples, Florida. After that, for every Christmas, me and Sister Sandy, who was 10 years older than me, would fly from O'Hare to Fort Myers to have 2 weeks of fun in the sun. So in my teens, I got used to warm temperatures for carolers and no snow for the Yuletide season. And even though not all 5 of us kids were there, even though not all 5 of us kids were there, I was still the youngest. So on Christmas Eve, when exchanging gifts, I was the one in charge of handing out the presents to others under the tree for people to open. Now, I have to preface this all with the fact that I came from a prudish family. We were mild-mannered, moral people. I didn't even drink till I was away at college. I didn't even kiss a boy till I was 16. So, on one Christmas Eve, I think I was 14, after all the carolers came along and we sat at the Christmas tree adorned with sand dollars and red ribbons, I started handing out presents for everyone to open. But at one point I handed a red box to my sister as a gift from my mother that she obviously bought. And so she opened the box to see a very adult set of bra and panties. Now, my sister was 24. But this was still a very forward-seeming gift from my mother. And I looked to the tree. I must have had a panicked look on my face because my parents then asked me what was the matter. Well, at this point in time, I had never kissed a boy. I don't even know if I was wearing a training bra. So I said, well, I'm handing out these presents, and there's another box just like the one she opened there for me, too. So she told me to open it, and I had to do my best to try to not look mortified, but at least the teddy my mother chose for me was very reserved. You know,
yeah.
As far as teddies go. A few years later, I think I was leaving for college the next fall, but at Christmas time, on Christmas Eve, I see presents addressed to both me and my sister. So we opened the gift. I had no idea what it was, but the box said, "Ethel Lady." Mom said it was something you could use so that you wouldn't have to shave your legs. We opened it up. The tip looked like a twisted tiny metal coil, and Mom suggested we try it. So apparently, when it's plugged in, those coils vibrate and act like mass tweezers. Because when I used that thing on my legs, it started yanking hair out en masse, and all the hair would just come out, really. And I instantly actually screamed. And then I said, I didn't drink, but I said, do they at least give a bottle of bourbon with these? Because this was so incredibly painful. You would have to be drunk to actually numb the pain from this. I didn't question sharing this hair remover device with my sister, though really, ew. But I thought, I'm leaving for college soon, so I said to my sister, you can keep this gift for yourself. Years later, after living on my own and getting used to those cold Chicago winters again, I was driving to my parents' Chicago home, and while stopped at an intersection, I was struck by 2 cars and almost killed. After I started to recover, that seemed to be a good occasion for us kids to get together for Christmas. And after all these years, we've learned our lesson, because our lesson was what we were going to do is we were going to a photo studio and take pictures of us girls as a gift for our parents. And maybe it took the possibility of part of the family falling apart for us to remember what these presents are really for, because I didn't keep the teddy, and I'm sure my sister didn't keep that S&M hair removal device, but those photos, I think they will last a lifetime.
Oh,
well done.
It's a love us and gift giving run time of year. And I don't know if you have time. I could read one from here if that is all right with you.
Please.
All right. Then, not only do I do issue collection books, but we do Scars publications. We'll take things from both magazines and do annual collection books. And this is a poetry and prose correction book called On a Rainy Day. On a Rainy Day. and I seriously went out the back of a car. I'm like, those raindrops look cool. And,
it's beautiful.
They do look
yeah,
cool.
so, and I thought I could see 2 in here from you. They're both less happy. But that's, how I roll for you, I guess. This first one is a thing that talks about periodic table elements, because over there I've got a book called Periodic Table of Poetry. And I talk about one of the elements in this one, and that is the first one I'd like to share with you, and it's called Smelling Sulfur on 911. I'm a journalist. I can remember the sound of the newspaper, the newsroom as I finished my articles in one of those computers. I could still hear the sounds and the bustling and the rushing toward a deadline. The shuffling of papers was a common occurrence when you worked. Hearing that low hum, that din of action and activity is almost comforting to types like me. It was like a bass beat to the symphony of our lives. So, when you hear the words 911, you think of a number to dial when you hear or more gun violence on these Chicago streets. You can smell the sulfur and the gunpowder, another sense that accentuates the center of this world around us. But on a beautiful sunny day like today, you come into the newsroom. It's early morning. The sound of action has yet to truly penetrate the ears of this reporter. And the styrofoam coffees are still in one hand, and you got crumpled pages of edited copy in the other. But on this sunny morning, the din was different and much more cacophonous, but more hushed, but still so rushed. I made my way to one of the TV sets along the main wall. All were on different channels, showing different bits of news, though it all suddenly seemed the same. I looked at the newsroom, and it was like we were all watching a movie as smoke poured from one of the Twin Towers. I tried to make out the voices from one of the TV sets when I witnessed a plane right before my eyes fly into the other tower. I stood for a moment, transfixed like some horror movie addict, before I thought of our contacts that were all spattered along the East Coast. I pulled out my cell phone and speed dialed Mark in New York. He was at a meeting and he had it scheduled in the Twin Towers that morning. But the phones were jammed, so I dialed up Don, who was in that town there for work, but all was lost to computer-simulated voices, forcing me to leave messages and scramble from afar. As pathetic as we were, we watched it and stared at that TV for more forms of communication because everything was being cut off from us. This was an attack on New York. Well, we struggled to discover this until less than 45 minutes later, we saw a 2-second-long film replayed repeatedly from a DC security camera that caught a collision course crashing of a plane through the outer ring of the Pentagon. Well, now the story has changed. Try to get through to Dan in D.C. He was at the Pentagon today. The phones were still cutting me off, though, so we were scrambling for any data, looking for any Chicago connection, like maybe the Sears Tower or the John Hancock Building. These were national icons, but they may be under attack, too. But before I could gain my bearings, only 25 minutes passed before a plane crashed into the ground near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Shanksville, I thought. I actually know someone there. I searched and I found Anna's number, who was actually there, so I tried, but who was I kidding? Those lines were cut off too. It's a strange feeling, being a reporter and not being able to contact a single person. Being detached from the world, coupled with this sinking feeling, wondering if any of the people you know are physically hurt or even alive. As a journalist, you really feel hopeless, like your hands are tied behind your back. We give the news. We're not supposed to feel so stranded. An hour after the Pentagon was attacked, the Sears Tower was evacuated. This wasn't my beat. I had no contacts, but no one was there to help me through this disaster, so I just kind of waited there in case others needed any assistance. I sat back for a moment and left there to wait, thinking about Mark and Don in New York, Dan in D.C., even poor Anna. I'm sure she's not hurt, but they're now cut off from me. As I said, all I could do was wait. Clear your head of the people. I could hear myself say to myself, you're a reporter, just break down the details of what you can see instead of thinking that this could be another one of your, human interest stories. The jet fuel, the drywall, all that paper, all that office stuff, these people, they're trapped, they're all hydrogen, carbon, oxygen. But wait a minute. In Chicago, I think of the sulfur smell when it comes to gunfire, but jet fuel is sulfur-laden, and the burning drywall emits sulfur gas. Sulfur is even the third most common mineral in the human body. I mean, I'm a newspaper reporter. Even there's a sulfur-based compounds that are used in pulp and printing these actual papers. Yeah, I'm a newspaper reporter. Just catch your breath and try to turn to the stats. Try to clear your head of the humanity. The thought of so much sulfur, maybe, being so much a part of so many details in our lives, it made me think of the destruction that sulfur was so much a part of that day. I know I stayed here to give a helping hand, but with all that sulfur on my mind, suddenly, all I could smell was that burning, and I couldn't stop coughing while I tried to catch my breath.
Wow.
I do actually know in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, the woman's son, they were reporting in the local paper that if that plane had landed 30 seconds later, it would hit the school he was in. And we were just trying to call anyone because we knew everything, but we couldn't do anything. I will end with this last one. And thank you very much for listening. Unless you want to. This one's called, I get good with happier notes. This one's called Orders. My uncle was a pilot, and I knew he served in the military, but I didn't know him well enough. So I only searched for stories of the pilot with a plane of plutonium dropping the fat boy over Nagasaki. Because once you're told what to do, thinking can exit the equation, since everyone falls back on, I was only following orders. Because who needs to question morals when you have blind obedience? My Netherlands proclaimed neutrality at the start of World War II. Germany invaded anyway, and only one day later, Dutch forces surrendered. Germany then deported the Jews, but not without the help of the Dutch police. You know, the Dutch had one of the highest levels of collaboration with Nazi Germany, because if you can't beat them, join them, and just follow orders. But still, I think of my ancestors, Petronella, Johanna, Houston natives, helping the resistance. They were killed for saving lives. That's what you get for having beliefs and not following orders. And yeah, when I was raised, I did what I was told. I didn't get in trouble. I was a good little girl. And what did it get me? A life of doing what I was told to do, until I was left with one voice. But that voice was only my own, and I no longer had any orders, just a deafening silence in my effort to pick up the pieces so that I could have my own justice, on my own terms, in my own time. And still, I fight. I wonder if the battle will kill me, but I won't know how long I will be able to fight an uphill battle when the cards are perpetually stacked against me, and I'm left to fight all alone. You try to do things on your own, but the political pundits say one thing, and the talking heads say another. But you've gained the brains, and after all this time, you should know by now that you're the one making the choices now. And you don't have to follow any orders anymore.
Nice. Very nice.
I'll end on a happier note, because I have to. I have to do this because this is actually the first poem I ever read as a host of the open mic in Chicago.
What?
So I'll share this one with you. It's called The Battle at Hand. I wanted you to know that I was on a mission when I saw you. that I was a warrior and you were just a helpless victim that couldn't fight my weaponry, that wouldn't fight my weaponry. I wouldn't come into town and pillage and rape and pillage, depending on how do you put it. And rape is such a hard, harsh word, you know, entirely inappropriate for this, because I made sure that you wanted me before it was all over, because I have a knack of doing that when I fight my battles. This is how I care to think of you. I was on a conquest, and I came fully equipped with ammunition. I had bayonets, I had a rifle with rods of bullets on a chain thrown over my shoulder. I had a .22 caliber magazine-loaded handgun. And I didn't even need to use the hand grenade or the tear gas. Even before I started using my tongue as a weapon with a kiss, I used it as a weapon with words. And I knew I had you won over from the start. You looked at me when I spoke, and I think you might have actually wanted to hear what I had to say. And I would never have to resort to violence to get what I wanted from you. We seldom had opportunities before, but there wasn't much of an opportunity here, but we made one, and we suddenly, somehow made it work. And no, it was not a momentous moment for me. It was just a moment. A conquest, a battle, and in my own mind, I won the war. People thought we would never get along, but I know better. I know there is no such thing as not getting along with me, and I know I can make anyone like me, as I did with you. You were easy prey, you know.
Nice.
Thank you.
Wow.